Alright guys, two things. First thing, Happy New Year to everybody. Just want to get that. Alright guys, two things. First year, Happy New Year to everybody. It is 2025. Let's try to make this an amazing year. Number two, 1 week to go in the NFL. Still a lot to play for, and really, we have no idea how this week could go. Stick Support here, back with another video. Today we are talking about Week 18. And as I mentioned, still a lot to play for. Divisions still have to be clinched. Playoff spots still have to be settled. And I'm here for all of it. We're going to have some teams that are going to rest their starters to get ready. Others, they have to play in order to get in. Alright, our first matchup is going to be Cleveland versus Baltimore. It's going to be a Saturday matchup. For Cleveland, they have the number 3 overall pick right now. If they lose, plus they win by the Patriots and Titans, they get the number 1 overall pick. As unlikely as that sounds, it might be best for them to tank in this game. Meanwhile, for Baltimore, they win, they get the AFC North, and they get to host in the wildcard round. They are hoping to get the win and host in the wildcard round. I'm going to make this very simple. Baltimore wins. Do not screw this up. Cincinnati traveling to Pittsburgh. For Cincinnati, they are still in it for that final playoff spot. If they win, plus a Denver and Dolphin loss, they are in the playoffs. Something I did not think I would be saying because, man, were they off to a poor start. But Joe Burrow and this offense rallied this team, even with a defense that has not been great for most of the season. For Pittsburgh, right now, they are the 5th seed, but they could lose that if they lose plus a Charger win. I'm going to go Pittsburgh on this because they do not want to go into the playoffs and have to travel to Baltimore again. And also, they do not want to go into the playoffs with a 4-game losing streak. And they would just love to knock off Cincinnati. So, I'm going Pittsburgh at home. Carolina taking on Atlanta. Atlanta, with their loss last week, they no longer control their own destiny. They've got to win and hope the Buccaneers lose their game. For Carolina, just give Atlanta everything you have. Throw everything in the kitchen sink at them. Alright? You know what you have to do in the offseason. You already know you're probably not going to draft a quarterback or even sign a veteran. Bryce Young, he deserves another season. Just go out there and give Atlanta hell. I do think Atlanta's going to get the win, but it's not going to come easy. Washington taking on Dallas. Washington's in an interesting spot because right now they have the 6th seed in the NFC. They win, they clinch that, and they go and play the 3rd seed instead of having to travel to Philadelphia and go play them in the wildcard round. Meanwhile, for Dallas, I don't know what more to say about this team. Right now, it just wasn't great for them. They really should have done more in the offseason. Give me Washington over Dallas. Chicago taking on Green Bay. Green Bay, that loss was rough for them because it dropped into the 7th seed and they would go and play Philadelphia, a team I don't think they really want to play in the wildcard round. Meanwhile, for Chicago, they could finish the season with an 11-game losing streak after starting 4-2. That's not good. I'm going to go with Green Bay over Chicago on this. Green Bay does not want to finish 1-5 in this division. Jacksonville taking on Indianapolis. For Indianapolis, how do you lose to the Giants? How did you give up that many points to a Giants team that had struggled on offense all year long? How do you do that? How? Just how? That shouldn't have happened. Jacksonville, it's just been a rough season for them. And I'm going to say this right now, Jaguars. Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson, they're going to have to be gone. All right? You got to start over. Okay? Give me Indianapolis over Jacksonville on this. Moving on. Buffalo taking on New England. Buffalo, they're pretty much locked into the number 2 seed. I could definitely see them resting their starters. Also, I could see them play their starters for a half just to cement Josh Allen's MVP run. For New England, you lose, you have the number 1 overall pick. Give me Buffalo over New England, even if Buffalo plays their backups. Giants taking on Philadelphia. For the Giants, you won, but you also lost because you did not get the number 1 overall pick. You still can get it, but you need 3 teams to win in order to clinch that number 1 pick. Philadelphia, really? you're resting Saquon Barkley when he's 101 yards away from breaking Eric Dickerson's record? He could have that before halftime. I don't know with the Eagles anymore. I really don't. All I know is they have the number 2 seed. They are one of the favorites to reach the Super Bowl. I still am going to pick the Eagles over the Giants, even though I know the Eagles are resting their starters. Alright, call me crazy, but I still think the Eagles win. New Orleans taking on Tampa Bay, and I just got to start by saying this. What happened in New Orleans, I mean, there's no words to express that. That was just something that should never happen, and my heart goes out to the families that were affected by this tragedy. And for New Orleans, I know they're going to be playing with heavy hearts on Sunday. But back to football. For New Orleans, it's just been another team that's had a tough season, and right now they're in line for a top 10 pick. So that could help them out, but it's going to be too far from them to really take one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft. So I don't know what New Orleans is going to do this offseason when it comes to the quarterback position. Meanwhile, for Tampa Bay, win, you're in. Win, you're in. Win, you're in. Give me Tampa Bay over the Saints. Houston taking on Tennessee. For Houston, I don't know what they're going to do. Will they rest their starters? Will they play their starters? I'm not entirely sure, but for Tennessee, they lose, they at least get the number 2 overall pick, which would be big for them to have the number 2 overall pick, which they could do whatever they want with it, whether they want to take one of the rookie quarterbacks or they want to trade out and trade with somebody that wants one of those 2 quarterbacks. That's going to be an interesting thing for them. I'm still going to go Houston over Tennessee no matter who plays. I just feel like Tennessee, they're going to want that number 2 overall pick. San Francisco taking on Arizona. This is pretty much a game for pride. San Francisco, they've been ravaged by injuries all season long. Arizona, they took a step in the right direction, but they were just inconsistent for a lot of the season. As for this game, I'm actually going to go San Francisco over Arizona. Kansas City taking on Denver. Okay, everybody. Denver, you win. You get the final wildcard spot. It's that simple. Unfortunately, you're playing against the Chiefs that have lost 1 game this year. However, since they've already clinched the number 1 seed, they are most likely going to rest their starters, so you are going to get Carson Wentz instead of Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to go with Denver over Kansas City. Don't screw this up, Denver. Seattle taking on the Rams. With the strength of victory, the Rams have the division, so this game is essentially meaningless. Do the Rams rest their starters? Probably. I don't know. Maybe. I'm still going to go with the Rams. Chargers taking on the Raiders. For the Chargers, they're going to be playing their starters because if the Steelers lose, the Chargers get the 5th seed, which means they would play the Texans, not the Ravens. Well, they could rest them if the Steelers do end up winning against the Bengals, which I do have. However, I'm still going under the assumption that they're playing their starters. Meanwhile, for the Raiders, man, it's just been tough for them. And this is another team that you really have no idea what they're going to do at the quarterback position, especially since they lost the 1st overall pick. I'm going to go with the Chargers over the Raiders. Miami taking on the Jets. So this game is playing at the same time as Denver taking on the Raiders. Miami wins, Denver loses, Miami gets the final wildcard spot, which is nuts when you consider the kind of season Miami has been through. To make the playoffs, that'd be pretty good for them. Meanwhile, for the Jets, I think they're moving on from Aaron Rodgers after the season. Just a hunch. I'm going to go with Miami over the Jets on this one, but they lose out on that final wildcard spot. Oh man, everybody. This is it. The final game of the regular season. We have Minnesota. We have Detroit. This is the game for not only the NFC North, but the number 1 seed in the NFC. These 2 teams have just been amazing all year long. Both of these teams are coming in 13-2. My goodness. From Minnesota, we thought they were dead on arrival. They lost J.J. McCarthy in the preseason to a knee injury. They were going to start Sam Darnold, who up until that point had been a draft disappointment. And Sam Darnold has just come in and played amazing football from day 1 since the season. It's been amazing what this team has done, and they are firing on all cylinders right now. One of the top offenses in the NFL. Meanwhile, for Detroit, we expect them to be a great team, and that's exactly what they have been. 2 losses all year, a Week 2 matchup against Tampa Bay, and then a matchup against the Bills. And even with all the defensive injuries that they have had to overcome, including losing Aiden Hutchinson to a severely broken leg, it hasn't mattered. They continue to win games. However, that defense has definitely taken a big hit, and against an offense like Minnesota's, that could be the difference, and I say it will be. I don't think Detroit's going to be able to overcome the losses that they've had on defense, and Minnesota wins. It gets the #1 seed in the NFC. That's what I have, and now everything is going to be set for playoffs, and it's going to be a ride, everybody. Oh, man. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, I will see you guys next time.